Hello and welcome to another episode here on the Mole Under Management channel. My name is ChaosMole and today we have another Age of Wonders 4 video for you where we are talking about building your city and more importantly, building your economy. Because let's be honest here, you want to conquer the world and to do so, you need some strong economy. But before we do talk about all those things, two other topics I have to mention very quickly here. First things first, everything you are seeing here in the video is based on information which is available on the internet. Some of that information might be a little bit outdated, but I try to keep it as up to date as possible because I have not played this game yet. I don't know why, but some people got the idea as of late in my videos that I have been already playing this game. I'm like a privileged live streamer who has all the information readily available, and how can I not know every exact detail? And it's like, no, I'm sorry, I have not played this game. In fact, my channel is far too small as if anybody would like take too much notice of it from like the developers or publishers side, right? So no, I do not have an early access version of this game. I'm all working with the information which is available on the internet to everyone. Second, big shout out and thank you to all of you. We have reached 100 subscribers on the Mole Under Management channel. Like, big thank you for it. And the channel is pretty new. Like, it just started a few weeks ago, and there are more Age of Wonders 4 videos coming. We are also focusing on strategy games here on the channel in general, because I always feel like strategy games are a little bit underrepresented on YouTube, so I want to make more for that. And frankly speaking, I've been playing strategy games since my childhood, so I love them to death. So again, thank you so much for the support. If you enjoy this video, please don't forget to like and to subscribe if you're new to the channel. Now, enough small talk, let's talk economy and how that works in Age of Wonders 4. What you are seeing here in the background is all the resources you are producing in your city, and some of the resources are readily available to you globally, and some others are only important to you depending on your city, right? And you are seeing the elven city of Wordgate here in the background. And the first thing we are doing is, what does all those symbols actually mean, right? So we have food, we have production, we have draft, we have gold, manor, knowledge, and last but not least, Imperium. Okay, what do they do? Well, some of them are pretty straightforward. Some others are also new to Age of Wonders. So first things first, food. Pretty simple. It increases your population and it makes sure that nobody starves. Production helps you to produce buildings, produce units. The more production you have, the less turns you need to finish said production. Then you have draft. Draft is a new resource which didn't exist like this in the previous Age of Wonders games. And you needed to build a unit. Every unit will eat up a certain amount of draft. And well, if you don't have enough draft to build that unit in your city, then you have to go to another city, or you have to wait till you actually get enough draft to do so. Then we have gold. Gold is actually globally available to you, and it does exactly that, what it does in other 4X games. You can buy units immediately, you can buy buildings, or you can use them for diplomacy plays. Same goes for mana. It's globally available and allows you to cast all the spells or to summon magical units. Knowledge, also globally available, and it is the resource you need to research. And then we have Imperium, which we will talk about a little bit later here in the video, but it is a resource which is, again, globally available to you, and you can do a lot of special things with it. It's like a special resource which you desperately need to increase the size of your empire. Like, one of the special abilities is you can attract one more population with the Imperium. Now, there is another resource here in the window you might have missed, and it is this right here, the mask. This is your happiness, and every time you are making your empire grow, the happiness will go down, so you have to build something, use some spells or do some other stuff to keep the happiness up or your people will be very pissed, and that will not end well for you. Now, with that said, there are some coaches out there who don't give a damn about the happiness of their people, and they will not get affected by them. But standard stuff, you have to take care of your happiness. So, how do you increase your empire? How do you create a bigger empire? And you can see here, like the city of Wordgate, this is the starter city for the elves in this game. And you can see like your empire you have right now. You have some farms, you have a quarry, but this is the size of your empire, and you want to grow. How do you do that? Well, there are two ways to do so. The one way is to increase the borders of your already existing city, and the second one is to build, well, another city. So let's talk about increasing the borders and what does that mean for your city. So if you want to increase the border, this is a little bit different on how it worked in the previous Age of Wonders games. So for all the people who have been playing Age of Wonders 3 or even Age of Wonders Planetfall, things have changed here a little bit. Every time now you're increasing the population of your city, you can now choose another area you want to conquer with that city. So let's say we are now getting 5 population instead of 4. We can now take this territory down here. And every time you take more territory, you can build like some special buildings at some point. You can increase the size of your city. We will talk about that in detail. But this is how you increase the size of the territory of your city. Now, you can do that up to 15 times. So you can increase the border of your city by 15. That's quite a bit in comparison to the previous Age of Wonders game. And you might think, whoa, wait, what? That is huge. You can have some mega cities. That's crazy. Why would they allow this? That is a balance issue. No, there's a slight catch here. First of all, you need the food to really increase your population 15 times, and that will take a while. Not every city will be able to do that as quickly as, let's say, cities with a lot of food to it, right? But there is a catch to this. So in the previous games, you just needed some resources, or you needed like a unit you could send out, and then you could say, okay, this territory over there, love it, I take it. Let's build an outpost / city there, and that's that. That doesn't work anymore. Why does it not work anymore? Because now there is a city cap in Age of Wonders. You can see the city cap right here. This little number right here in the top is your city cap. So you can see we have 1 out of 3 cities we can have. And, well, good news, yes, you can increase the city cap in the game. And this is where you need Imperium for that. You remember when we talked about Imperium as a resource a little bit earlier? Yes, increasing your city cap will cost you Imperium. And the catch is, of course, the more you do it, the higher the cost will be. And it will become apparently really expensive later on. So this is how they are controlling a little bit how fast you can actually build cities in Age of Wonders 4. It's a balance change in that regard. Now you might think, wait a minute. What happens if I'm going over the cap? Can I go over the cap? Yes, you can go over the cap, but the developers said in a blog post that when you are doing that, every city you own will produce 25% less of everything. And that is a big catch. So you don't want to really go over your city cap because it will eat you up very quickly. But this is basically how you increase the size of your cities. So you get more population, you got more areas you can conquer, or you then say at some point, okay, this area is where I want to build a new city, send a unit over there, which will then build an outpost, and the outpost will then transform into a city if I so desire. And that will then go on my city cap. And the next thing we have to talk about is production and economy, because even if you want to build more cities and you want to increase the size of your cities, you need a working economy. How do you do that? So the first thing I want to mention, which is really cool, they changed how production works. In the previous Age of Wonders games, you had one production queue. So let's say you wanted to produce a building and a unit. You had to wait till the building was done, and then you could produce the unit. Good news, that doesn't happen anymore. You can now have a production queue for units and a production queue for buildings. So you don't have to wait anymore, and this really helps when you have lost quite a bit of units, but you also are still building on your economy, which always meant in the previous Age of Wonders games that you had to rethink what you built next, and most of the time it just meant that all the units had to be built first, but this would like kick back your economy a bit, and it wasn't ideal, right? It makes you vulnerable after you have just lost a huge amount of units, and you would be even more vulnerable than before. So this is now the remedy they introduced in Age of Wonders 4. But what we want to talk now, and I know this might be a little bit confusing, is about building stuff. So there are buildings which you will build inside your city, and then there are buildings which you are building outside of your city. And so we are focusing first on the buildings you will build inside your city. So if the enemy tries to like attack you and they want to destroy your buildings, they have to attack the city to get to those specific buildings, which are then city buildings. They're called city buildings. And you can see the general buildings right now here on the screen. And yes, this is not all. I know that depending on the faction you have created, you will have some special buildings. You will have buildings which will replace your normal buildings. And we will talk about that in a few minutes. But those are the general buildings everyone has available. And you can already see, let's have a look at the vendor here, right? The vendor is giving you 10 gold, and it will boost it with 1 farm. What boost exactly does and how it works, we will talk about also a little bit later. A second update is then the market, and again it gets boosted with 2 farms. Then you can get the mint, which is tier 3, same thing as previous, but now it requires a mine. Right, you can see that right here, you require a mine now. And then you have the tier 4 buildings where you require 2 mines in that city to get the Merchant's Guild. So the guilds are basically the pinnacle of your economy buildings in your city, and they are the tier 4 buildings. But there is something else you probably already noticed, and that is this, mutually exclusive tier 4. What does that mean? Well, it means you have to make a decision. You have to make a decision which of the tier 4 buildings you want, because you can only have that one. It's mutually exclusive. So let's say you are choosing the Merchant's Guild, then through normal means, you cannot get the others. You can still get all the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 buildings, but tier 4, nah. You have to make a decision. So keep that in mind. You can see it here again, like some of the buildings we just talked about, right? You can see what they are exactly doing. And this is where we have to talk about the boost. So you can see here that the Stone Conjurer is boosted, right? This building got boosted, and you see exactly what the boost is. Like the library, for an example, needs 1 forester to get boosted, and when you boost the buildings, they will produce just more for you, which is pretty helpful. Wait, how do I get like those foresters? How do I get the booster buildings? Those are the buildings you are building outside of your city. right? Like, as we have seen it earlier here, they're the two farms. You would then need to boost your mint, or there's the quarry you need to actually be able to build the mint, right? Those are the buildings you can then decide to build outside. Keep in mind that not every area you're adding to your city is allowing you to build every building. So you have to make a decision, like, which area do I want? What does this area give me? Okay, it gives me 2 farms, and it gives me like also something for wood, right? That you then just could go and get a forester in that area. So you have to make quite a bit of decisions when you increasing the size of your empire and in which direction you want to expand. Because you want to also boost the buildings in that city. Doesn't really help you much if you are focusing on getting the mint, getting the gold going, and then you realize, well, shoot, I don't have the farms to boost this, and later on, I don't even have the mines to get the last 2 buildings. So you completely basically focus on the wrong things in that city. So you have to think a little bit ahead. Now, this is a very interesting thing. This is a workers' farmstead. What is this now? This is one of the buildings you can build outside, and it is this building I showed at the beginning. It's the farm. Wait, but it is a workers' farmstead. So this is something completely different. Why is that? Because this is a city structure which is coming from the culture of the industrialist. So depending on which culture you're choosing, you will also get special buildings which will then replace the neutral buildings most of the other factions have. So your normal farm is going away, and it will then become a workers' farmstead. And yes, it will produce less food than normal farmsteads, but it will also give you production. And the same goes with the Grand Mill, right? Normally the farms outside the city would just produce food for you, but with the Grand Mill, they will also have production. Here's another building, which is a special province improvement. And you can see here it will count as a forester. And sorry that it is a little bit hard to read. I'm really sorry for that. But this counts as a forester, and it will then give you food, and it will give you drafts. So it actually works a little bit different than your normal forester does. So TLDR, you have your city. You can increase the size of your city depending on where you decide to put your claim. You will get more of a boost for that city, and then you can decide to build special buildings there. And it really depends on which path you want to go in your city. Let's say you want to focus mostly on production, then you want to get all the areas which will boost your production. And that's the areas you want to conquer and to add to your already existing city. And so you will probably have like a lot of specialized cities down the road. And then, last but not least, there will also be some like end game city structures, right? There's only 1 guild allowed per city. We have already talked about that. Those are then your pinnacle tier 4 buildings you will build at the end. So if you have decided what your city wants to focus on, then you say, okay, and this now will be my pinnacle building at the top, which in this case would be the Mage Guild, because you have been focusing quite a bit on the mana income in your city, or production, or like Temple of Fertility, right, would be everything for food. So you will have probably quite a bit of specialized cities in this game. And this is how you then decide to work on your economy, to have those specialized cities. But with that said, this is it. This is the end of how to run your economy and your city. If you still have some questions or something to add, please let me know in the comments. I hope I haven't missed anything. If I did, please let me know and let the others know. And please be nice. No need to be a dick. We are all humans here. And with that said, don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it, and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. There will be another Age of Wonders 4 video down this week, probably coming around Friday or Saturday. I have to see. It's quite a bit. And then of course we are getting closer and closer to the release of Age of Wonders 4, and there will also be live streams here on this channel. With that said, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.